These aren't the stories your mother told you. No, these are the other stories.
To celebrate the beginning, we're going back to the start of the other stories and reanimating episode 1, Alien. Written by Matthew C. Boucher and narrated by Justin Fife.
It was cold that night, colder than normal for that time of year. I remember clear as yesterday, though. How could I not, given that it was when this nightmare began? I'd been out in the field tending to my flock when I'd first seen the light in the sky. It was a fiery speck that twinkled like a distant flame at the end of a pitch-dark cellar. I remember glancing up at the time and disregarding it as meaningless, the folly of the heavens. But I'd soon find my initial assessment to be wholly inaccurate. A while later, for reasons still unknown to me, I glanced up a second time to see the speck had now doubled in size. This time it held my gaze and I just stared upwards until my neck got sore. Within the burning orange, the shape of a dark disc was now visible. There was something solid in the fire. A rock, maybe, I thought? I considered running to the local town to alert the village council in case it was something more, but I thought better of it. What's the point? I'd ask myself. Space rocks fall in my fields all the time. Only recently, I'd found a large meteor the size of my skull still smoldering in its crater not too far from where I was standing that night. This was just another rock. I was sure of it. After rounding up my wayward cattle and herding them to their night dwellings, I set back to my house, sparing one last glance upwards. This time I was stopped dead in my tracks. The rock was now as large as our star in the night sky. Now, however, the rock was recognizable as something else, something artificial. The metal disc that I remember thinking at the time looked like a burning plate that was getting larger as it grew closer. This certainly merited the attention of the local council, but at this point I'd never reached the town in time, so instead I just stood with my mouth agape and watched. I watched as the fire grew brighter. I watched as the disc grew larger, and I watched as the object came to a surprisingly gentle collision with the ground, or the field adjacent to the one I was standing in. The ground shook as dirt flew into the air, and still, all I could do was watch. Eventually, I somehow managed to move, and did so in the direction of this landed heavenly thing, as fast as I could. This apparently wasn't the first time a metal object had fallen from the sky. I'd heard stories from far away of metal beasts descending from space, shrouded in fire. They would unfurl themselves from the ball they had arrived as, and view our world with cold, glassy eyes. They were wordless and mechanical and sought only to take our plants, our livestock, and, on a couple of reported occasions, one of our own. These were just rumors, though, hearsay, and most disregarded them as such. But now, faced with the thing in actuality, I realized there must be at least some truth to the stories. As I arrived in the adjacent field, I found the disc, which, as it happened, was more conical in shape, sat smoldering in the dirt bowl its impact had formed, like a metal egg in an earthen nest. From its metal-paneled side, a doorway began to open with a hiss, revealing a dark interior. Then, stillness. A slave to my curiosity, I took a couple of foolish steps forward, eager to peer inside. Edging closer step by step, I came almost within an arm's reach before a tall figure appeared in the doorway. With enough suddenness to send me falling over backwards into the ground. The visitor was garbed in strange, chunky, pale clothing that appeared seamless. This was save for the hole in its head, the only visible part of the creature poked out of. It appeared fragile by comparison to us. Its pale skin was pulled taut over an angular bone structure, large eyes set close together and far into their sockets, and with a patch of something strange and burnt orange on its crown. Was this headwear or something organic? It looked almost plant-like, as though it was growing from the creature's scalp. Seeing me sat on the floor, took a step forward and extended its hand, adorned with an extra digit in my direction. I viewed it suspiciously. Was I to be taken with the visitor like the victims of the stories I'd heard? It pulled the tight skin around its mouth back to reveal rows of tiny teeth, far more than normal, all of near uniform size. I couldn't tell if this was an expression of aggression or reassurance, though given the circumstance, I assumed the latter. I felt far from reassured. "Who are you?" I wanted to scream. "Where do you come from?" I already half knew the answer to this second question. Upwards, outer space. What stood before me was a creature from another planet, another galaxy, for all I knew. A moment after the hesitation, I reached up and grabbed the creature's hand, covered in its strange armored glove, and allowed it to pull me up. Teeth still bared, it spoke words in a language we'd come later to understand and fear. This was only when its peers used this language to talk to us from our homes, which we'd soon learned were positioned over rich mineral and ore deposits we had yet to discover for ourselves. This was also the language that was used to tell us they were taking our resources, our land, for themselves, and they would let us live peacefully if we stayed in our designated safe zones. Then they used their words to negotiate the terms of our slave-like labor in the mines they'd set up in the rubble of our former towns. "Don't worry," the visitor said after helping me to my feet. "I'm from planet Earth. We come in peace."
I hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Other Stories. Alien was written by Matthew C. Boucher, narrated by Justin Fife, produced by Carl Hughes, with music by Cyberleaf Studio and Tom Robson, and sound effects provided by freesound.org. The episode illustration is provided by Luke Spooner of Carry On House, and a quick thank you to Joshua Boucher as our story programmer, along with Jasmine Arch and his eyeless ones, Mary Pastrano and Cody Czarzasty. They helped manage our online communities, and to Ben Errington for the ongoing explosion of content he fires out of his social media canon. Justin Fife is an audiobook narrator and voice actor, and he can be found on threads at justin.fife. The Other Stories is a production of the Story Studio Hawk and Cleaver, and is brought to you with a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. That means don't change it, don't sell it, but by all means share the hell out of it. Until next time.